And welcome everybody to another Type Over 40 special video diary format with myself, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks, and Rosie the House Dalek. She's here to keep an eye on my toxic masculinity, as always, and very, very brave of her today because we have a guest coming along in a moment. And traditionally, Rosie and this lot, they don't get along too well, do they? Down, girl, down, down. Hold her back, hold her back, hold her back. Yes, I have a guest coming up in a moment. But before we get to him and all of that, can I please ask you to like, share, and subscribe? Yeah, like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel for more Doctor Who talk and little bits of silliness from myself and Rosie and all our longer form videos. And yes, give us a like and hit that bell. Turn on the bell so you get notifications when our next videos are on the way, when they're going to materialize on your feed. The general gist of it is that these videos that I call Type Over 40 are a before show, after show, and in between show to the main Type 40 podcast that I host, sometimes with Rosie, over on the Fandom Podcast Network. New episodes, when we're actually running new episodes, they drop most weeks. At the moment, we're on a bit of a break. Back very, very soon. In fact, we might be back by now by the time this gets released. Who knows? Yes, and the reason why I'm here this time is because I've been swept up in a fan project that's really taken me by surprise. And I don't know why, because I've been a fan for such a long time now. You'd think nothing would surprise me anymore, would you? But no, this really has. And yes, I reached out to the person who is behind this project, and they agreed to come on screen with me and to tell me all about it. But before I get to them, let's just set the scene. 3 years ago, at Christmas, Stephen Moffat, Peter Capaldi, Pearl Mackie, and Matt Lucas, almost forgot his name, they left Doctor Who, didn't they? In the Christmas special, the fantastic Christmas special, Twice Upon a Time. You remember this? There we are. There's a publicity picture from 3 years ago. Where has that time gone? Now, that special, generally, I think it went down quite well, but it did cause a bit of upset in the fandom because of some of the elements, some of the sides to the writing, particularly the way the first Doctor was written. But of course, it ended Peter Capaldi's entire era and led into the Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker era. Now, recently on the Spacebook channel, we've talked at some length, haven't we? We've reviewed the very start of the Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker era. We did a long form review of all of that. That was lots and lots of fun. Lots of constructive criticism, wasn't that? Absolutely was. And yes, we even talked about what would have happened if we could have gone back in time, Inferno style. Myself, Starry-Eyed Girl, Ian Diaz, a few of the regular voices came on to talk about the series 11 that we would have made, who we would have cast, what the stories were going to be like, all that sort of thing. So we've talked about the possibilities of what could have come next ad nauseum. But yes, somebody out there has gone one step further, well, several steps further, and they have reworked that episode. They've gone back to Twice Upon a Time because they've decided everything that's come since is too painful to bear. And when you consider that Cybermen don't feel emotion, that just goes to show something, doesn't it? That says something about the content I think we've been getting over the last couple of years. But yes, the episode Twice Upon a Time, there are several people out there who, for them, Doctor Who ended there. They've politely distanced themselves from it. Maybe they tried a few of the subsequent episodes and decided it wasn't for them, whatever else. But they've decided that Doctor Who they'll put a pin in it and leave it there. But the problem is, of course, when you go back and you watch the Peter Capaldi era in sequence, there's stuff that goes on in that, and particularly the final moments where the Doctor would see him to, I don't know, burst into flames and change into somebody else. That just sort of spoil the party, really, doesn't it? Yes, so it all leads up to the regeneration of the 12th Doctor. But what if that didn't work for you? What if it still doesn't work for you? What if you'd rather forget that you ever saw it? That is where our friend comes in. I'm about to introduce somebody who has gone back to this episode and has intervened to avert disaster. Yes, divert disaster and effectively reinvent and re-offer Stephen Moffat's Twice Upon a Time. Somewhat bold, you could say, but fortune does favour the bold. And here we have the Unwoke Cyberman to tell us all about it.
Salutations, Dan. It's good to be here with you. You know, it's funny. I also have my own monitor when it comes to all things related to toxic masculinity. Say hello, Jody. As you can see, I don't think we'll be needing her today.
It's nice to have you here. So what I wanted to know is this project. It seems quite an involved one, quite a conceited one, some may say, to interfere with a great master's work. But you've gone in there and you've tinkered. So what exactly was the defining moment? What made you, compelled you to go back to Twice Upon a Time and to do what you've done?
Well, Dan, if I had to sum it up in just a word, it would be malice. I'm only half kidding. I've been a Doctor Who fan for decades. However, the 2005 revival, the love that I had for this great property had become sort of a love-hate relationship with me. While popular in its own right, at least up until recently for me, New Who was always just too different from the classic series that I absolutely loved. The way they converted the Doctor into a love interest and a generally soap opera-y feel was a little off-putting. It had silliness that bordered on camp, as if Russell T Davies and company were having a good laugh at the expense of Doctor Who, rather than trying to continue with his legacy. And little factors, like the Doctor using his sonic screwdriver as part tricorder and part Harry Potter wand, these and a few other things added up to make the property into something other than what it was intended to be. However, most of all, it incorporated copious amounts of woke politics on levels previously absent before 1989. That only got worse with each subsequent series. Instead of being a show that appealed to both liberal and conservatives, Doctor Who seemed determined to be a show for progressives only. Yet, being a Who fan, I pressed on, hoping for better times that sadly never materialized. And while this period of Doctor Who had a few gems story-wise, even those often carried the acrid stench of politics, I eventually gave up on the show altogether, sticking only to the classic series. Then we got Jodie. In the era of woke, the BBC made the wokest choice they could ever make for the new Doctor and picked a female. Now, in previous times, I might have been won over by a female Doctor, such as Joanna Lumley. But in this climate of hyper-partisan, authoritarian wokeness, not a chance. Plus, having the Doctor become female, it kind of destroyed the specialness of the idea of time ladies, such as Susan, Romana, Flavia, and the Rani. However, an idea came to me. Wouldn't it be funny if Dr. Jodie was not some kind of new incarnation, but rather some kind of near-death, unregenerate hallucination of the Doctor before sloughing off his mortal coil? What, with this in mind, plus the interest in making the new series more in line with the original show, as well as safer for my Cyberkids viewing, I then decided to edit Series 1 through 10 of Doctor Who, cleansing it of all wokeness, culminating in the noble death of the character, seeing how ridiculous Doctor Who has now become since then, and how unconcerned the producers have become with pushing away old school fans, I think it was probably the right decision.
Oh, wow. Really? So Cyberman does feel pain after all. So, yeah, tell me about the process that you went through then. Did you go through it scene by scene by scene, or specifically just tackle the last portions of it?
Well, I began with some simple edits, mainly to avoid awkward conversations with my young cyberlings. To date, I have seasons 1 through 3 edited, and a few others, but through that, I slowly started the process of plotting how I was going to tackle larger concerns, such as the portions of the Doctor Who canon that were being destroyed. Once I had a rudimentary plan in place, I viewed Twice Upon a Time. I watched it several times, and of course, in the meantime, I was also taking notes and to try to decide on how it might be possible to bring an end to the true 13th Doctor, as was supposed to happen before the writers started changing the story of the Time Lords. Once a plan was in place, I simply started from the beginning and worked my way through to the end of the episode. Some of the ideas, they didn't quite work out so well, and I had to go back and rework certain details to make it fit within the original storyline as much as possible. Some of my goals were taking away these sexist remarks that were put in the mouth of the Hartnell Doctor. It was a travesty. What did they do to the first Doctor? And I was determined to fix this. The same BBC that a few years previously had produced a wonderful Hartnell Doctor Who biopic, an adventure in time and space, that treated the veteran actor with such respect. How have they now decided to assassinate the character that he created by making him into a doddering, sexist dinosaur and an object of scorn, by having him recycle lines from the original series, but bereft of its original context? And while you can't fix everything, I did my best to cut out the more egregious offenses here, to return the first Doctor back into the one that more resembled the original.
So have you taken any other footage away? What's the running time of your new take on Twice Upon a Time?
Yes, in total there were 21 scenes that have been changed, either through the removal of small comments or the deletion of the entire scene due to issues that they brought up. I mentioned earlier that William Hartnell's Doctor was given a sexist and even creepy dialogue. There was a scene where the first Doctor threatens Bill Potts with a spanking in a line that was lifted from Dalek's invasion of Earth, whereas in the original, it was merely an empty paternal motivating threat by a grandfather to his granddaughter. But applied to Potts, it became inappropriate and, more to the point, an excuse for the writers to pat themselves on the back on how more enlightened they are versus the sexist 60s. The really sad thing is that this may be the first impressions of a Hartnell's Doctor that new fans to the series will be left with. A false impression, that of a sexist relic, or another era of that of the reluctant hero character that William Hartnell created. The original untouched episode was about 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 34 seconds long, including the credits. The new cut that I have made resulted in the episode losing about 7 minutes worth of playtime, coming in at 55 minutes and 43 seconds. Granted, I also added footage that was not in the original episode. This includes a wonderful CGI shot of the TARDIS created by the incomparable Problem Being.
So for the people out there who really want this, and for them, Doctor Who did end here, what do you hope that they get from your project here?
It basically comes down to good, wholesome family fun. Many of the cringe elements have been eliminated, or at least toned down. Sexual elements and sexual politics are similarly reduced or completely cut. And as much as possible, anything that drew the episode away from the original canon has been edited out. Part of what I want people to get out of this is being able to spend quality time watching it with their families and to see a proper conclusion to a series that should have ended at this point. I want them to see the Doctor's life finally being put to rest, or retirement, as the post-credit sequence might indicate.
No, I think that's absolutely fine. But what of the people who are watching, listening to all of this and seeing you share this new video, this new take on the episode? What have you got to say to your detractors, the people who may think that this is a slight on an important landmark episode of one of the world's most important science fiction franchises?
First, I'd laugh, and then I would laugh some more. A dear part of this project for me is the schadenfreude that I experience from the complaining from the purveyors of the current year politics as I destroy their sacred cows. To that end, I say, let the tears fall, let the salt flow. However, after I finish laughing, I would remind them that this is just a fan edit. I know that there are rumored to be people out there who are enthusiastic about the female Doctor. Well, they will always have her. Nothing that I have done has in actuality wiped Jodie from the time stream. My position has always been the canon for Doctor Who. And I'm not talking about minor details that are sometimes hard to keep up with in a series that spans half a century. I am talking about the big picture. But if you don't like my adjustments made to better bring the new show in line with traditional Doctor Who canon, you can ignore them. If you don't like unwoke Doctor Who, you can stick to the official releases. But if the new producers of this property can nonchalantly toss away 50 years of canon with the timeless children, then I can. Likewise, toss away their changes, showing as much respect for their work as they have shown to the Doctor Who producers of the past. Usually when I'm attacked by Jodie fans concerning this edit or others that I've worked on, accusations of sexism are usually where people go first. I can't but find this amusing because it's not at all my main concern. My main concern is canon. And if canon was observed, Dr. Jodie would not even exist. That's a more important factor to me than the so-called historic status of the first female Doctor.
Well, there you have it. Firm but fair. Yes, so what we need to know is you have changed the name of this episode too, haven't you? So you've given it a new title. What have you called it and why?
I call it 13. In keeping with my desire to re-enshrine canon, I decided to reintroduce the 13 live rule of the Time Lords. Capaldi, being the proper 13th Doctor, should have died at the end of his incarnation, not regenerated. The way the story was written, with all of the references to the Doctor's mortality, it was a simpler task to steer it to such a conclusion than it otherwise might have been. However, this creates a problem for the plot that is based on two Doctors rejecting and then accepting regeneration. Once you've eliminated most of Capaldi's references for holding back on his regeneration, Twice Upon a Time no longer works as a title. The title 13 seemed an obvious choice, and to underscore this, I changed the opening text and the title screen to reflect this natural law for Time Lords, and included a few other references.
And which parts of 13 are you most proud of? What do you think works the best?
When it was all said and done, as I was watching the episode in full with my family, I definitely got chills through my cooling system at the moment I saw the Doctor's life force come to an end, underscored by visions of Transalore and the vocal performances of past Doctors. Seeing the reaction from my cyber wife and cyberling made me feel that this was truly the end of an era. I was genuinely touched, well, as much as a Cyberman can be. And though this is just a fan edit, considering the direction the show has gone for the past two series, it seemed appropriate for the Doctor to leave with dignity, rather than continuing down the path that Chris Chibnall and company brought about.
So yeah, for the people out there who are wondering where on earth can they see this finished work, 13 by Stephen Moffat, reworked and unwoken by the Unwoke Cyberman, where can they see this episode?
For now, it's available on the Internet Archive. Just search Doctor Who Twice Upon a Time fan edit. There are few fan edits on that site for this episode, so you will just have to check the upload by reading the description, as it will refer to the new title of 13. Or you can follow the link that I believe will be in the description of this video.
And yeah, we'll put the link in the description to all of that, so you can find this video. You know, you can decide which version is for you once you've seen them. But yeah, I think that's generally, I think that's going to bring people more pleasure than anything else. Don't you think, Rosie? I believe so. Yeah, I can't wait to see it in full. So yes, there's a link to all of that in the description. Unwoke, thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of Type Over 40. It's always nice to have a guest. And yeah, have you got any other projects in the pipeline? Anything you can tell us about?
As I had mentioned earlier, I've actually edited down the first 3 of the series of this new Who, and I'm currently working on the 4th. If these become available, it will be announced on Twitter at Unwoke Who.
Watch this space. Nothing else getting deleted. Okay, well, that about covers it, I suppose. Yes, so keep a lookout. 13 by Stephen Moffat and the Unwoke Cyberman's special take on this story. Sounds like a laugh, and maybe a good alternative version to have on any Doctor Who fan's shelf. Thanks for joining me for this special little video, and yeah, keep an eye out for more. We've got more live videos coming up soon on both Doctor Who and Star Trek for you to enjoy, as well as various other geeky franchises we'll touch on along the way. Yes, they're all smiles. There they are. God, I really do miss them. Sincerely miss all 3 of them. Yes, they're all smiles, and I hope that you have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dan. It's been wonderful being on your channel, and remember, never go woke, but always remain wide awake.